Kofi still remembered the day he left his village, even though years had blurred many other memories. The morning air had been heavy with dust, the kind that clings to skin and settles in the throat. A battered bus waited by the roadside, engine coughing like it had survived too many broken journeys. Around him, neighbors gathered, not for celebration alone, but for judgment hidden behind polite silence. Some believed he would succeed. Many expected him to return quickly, defeated. Another story of a boy who chased the city and lost. His mother stood closest. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the small bag she had sewn for him. Inside it were a few clothes, dried food, and a folded cloth that carried the scent of home. She tried to smile, but her eyes betrayed her. "Don't forget us," she said softly. Kofi nodded. "I never will." But even as he spoke, something inside him understood that forgetting and survival were not always separate things. The city greeted him without mercy. It did not care where he came from or what he had left behind. It only demanded work. Days began before sunrise and ended long after darkness had swallowed the streets. He found himself on construction sites where steel and stone replaced the softness of rural life. Cement dust coated his lungs. His hands hardened until they no longer resembled the hands of the boy who left home. He slept in a cramped room shared with other laborers. Some snored. Some spoke in their sleep. Some stared at the ceiling as if waiting for answers that never came. Kofi learned quickly that comfort was not something earned easily in the city. It was something stolen in small moments. An extra hour of rest, a shared meal, a rare day without pain. Yet every month, without fail, he sent money home. At first, it was small amounts, enough to buy food, repair tools, survive another season. Then, as he gained experience and became more valuable at work, the amounts increased. He took extra shifts when others rested. He accepted dangerous jobs no one wanted. Every sacrifice was calculated, every hardship justified by a single belief. His family was building a better life because of him. Phone calls from home always arrived with the same tone: gratitude, relief, and reassurance. "Things are improving," his mother would say. "The roof no longer leaks. We are managing. We are proud of you." Those words became anchors. Without them, the city might have swallowed him completely. Years passed in this rhythm: work, send money, sleep, repeat. Friends from the job site slowly changed. Some bought motorcycles. Some moved into better housing. Some stopped sending money home altogether. They told him he was foolish for giving away so much of his earnings. But Kofi never listened, because in his mind, he was not sending money. He was building something: a future, his home, a promise. He imagined returning one day to a compound restored by his sacrifices. He saw the wooden gate his father once built standing strong. He saw his mother smiling proudly, surrounded by visible proof that her son had succeeded. But over time, small cracks began to form in that vision. One evening, an elderly man from his village called unexpectedly. The call was brief, almost hesitant, as if the man feared being overheard. "Be careful, my son," he said. Kofi frowned. "About what?" A pause. Then the line went dead. When he tried calling back, there was no answer. He told himself it was nothing. Old people often spoke in riddles. Perhaps it was just concern. Perhaps confusion. Life in the city left little space for paranoia, and work quickly buried the memory. But the feeling returned months later. His mother requested a large sum of money, far more than usual. When he asked why, her response was vague. "There are family matters," she said. "What matters?" "You don't need to worry." "But I am the one sending the money." Silence followed. Then her voice softened, almost irritated. "Just trust us." Trust. That word stayed with him longer than expected. Still, he sent the money, because trust was the foundation of everything he believed he was building. Nearly a decade after leaving home, an unexpected pause came. A construction project was halted after an accident at a nearby site. and workers were temporarily released. For the first time in years, Kofi found himself with time he had not planned for. At first, he considered resting. Then another thought took hold. Home. He would return, not announce it, not prepare anyone. He would simply arrive and see what his sacrifices had created. The journey back felt unreal. The farther the bus moved from the city, the lighter his chest became. Fields replaced concrete. Trees replaced towers. The air itself seemed to shift, carrying memories he had buried under years of exhaustion. By the time he reached the nearest town, excitement had grown into something almost painful. Kofi reached the nearest town by evening. The air felt different now, heavier, familiar, almost like the past was waiting just beyond the next bend. Every sound seemed louder than it should be. Every face he passed carried a sense of recognition he could not fully place. He hired a motorcycle for the final stretch. The ride back to his village was short, but it felt like crossing a lifetime. Fields opened on both sides of the narrow road. The same trees he remembered from childhood still stood, though older now, their branches thicker, their shadows longer. Children ran barefoot along the dirt paths, laughing as they chased one another. Women balanced baskets on their heads, moving with quiet strength. Life had continued here without him, and yet something felt off, not broken, not changed beyond recognition, but shifted, like a story rewritten in small, invisible ways. Then the village itself appeared. Kofi's heartbeat slowed. He knew these paths, he knew these corners, but memory and reality did not fully align anymore. Houses had expanded. New structures stood where empty spaces once were. Power lines stretched across parts of the sky he didn't remember being touched before. And then he saw it, the family compound. He told himself to breathe. This was the moment he had imagined for years. The return, the proof that every sacrifice meant something. But when the motorcycle stopped, Kofi froze. The wooden gate was gone. In its place stood a tall black metal gate, reinforced, heavy, and sealed with a thick chain and padlock that looked too industrial, too final, as if it did not belong to a family home, but to something meant to be kept out or kept in. He stepped forward slowly. His shoes pressed into the dust. Each step felt louder than the last. He knocked once, no answer. Again, still silence. Then footsteps, slow, measuring from inside. A face appeared through the bars, his cousin Ajua. For a moment, she did not speak. She simply stared, eyes widening as recognition turned into shock. Kofi? She whispered. A faint smile formed on his lips. It's me. But she did not open the gate. She did not move closer. Instead, she looked over her shoulder, quick, nervous, like someone afraid of being seen speaking too long. That movement hit him harder than any words could, because it did not feel like surprise. It felt like fear. Kofi, she said quietly, you weren't supposed to come back yet. Before he could respond, more figures appeared behind her inside the compound. Relatives, family members, people he had trusted, people he had sent money to for years. None of them smiled. None of them came forward. None of them opened the gate. Kofi's chest tightened. What is going on? He asked, his voice lower now. Silence answered him. Then, slowly, the gate unlocked, but no one stepped aside to welcome him. They simply allowed him to enter, like someone entering a place they no longer belonged. The compound inside looked improved, too improved. New buildings stood where old structures once were. Fresh paint coated walls. A car sat parked under a shelter he didn't remember being built. The money he had sent for years was visible everywhere, and yet the feeling in his chest was not pride. It was wrongness. As he stepped further inside, the family gathered in the main courtyard, forming a loose circle that felt more like a barrier than a welcome. Finally, Kofi spoke again. Where is my mother? His cousin lowered her eyes. No one answered immediately. Then his mother appeared. She looked older than he remembered, not just in age, but in weight. as if something inside her had been carrying a burden for far too long. When she saw him, her lips parted slightly, her eyes filled instantly, but she did not smile. She looked down instead, and in that moment, before anyone explained a single thing, Kofi already felt the truth pressing against the surface. Something had been hidden. Something had changed while he was away. Something his money had built, but not in the way he believed. And then Ajua finally spoke again, her voice barely steady. The property isn't in your mother's name anymore.